Hey everybody, it's been a while. The last time I did this, I was actually going to make another video relatively quickly afterward. Then some wind blew around and it got a little dicey, a little bit weird. So I actually just wanted to talk about a really old piece of art that I've done. Just kind of talk through my feelings because it's been a really long while since then. So I have the video on my tablet right now in front of me. I'm recording some audio on my computer. So I'm just going to kind of hit play and we're going to talk through it as it goes along. Maybe I don't know how I'm going to edit this, but okay, that was a big start. So I'm watching this right now and I just want to say, when I started this, I don't know that I really knew what I wanted. I've grown really nostalgic for winter and the environment that comes with that in a lot of northern states in the United States. I live in the South, so I don't really get this a lot. And in this original sketch, I was just I was looking at a reference of like a log cabin, and I was trying to capture, you know, that feeling that I really enjoy about a log cabin, but then I just scrapped the whole thing. I was like, this is not what I want. It's not dynamic enough. It's very flat. And I started trying to go through all kinds of different compositions here. And you'll see this is actually what I wound up going with right here. This was back in 2023, I think. I was really getting back into Splatoon. I had just done a pretty big, you know, series of art for like a project for Splatoon. We called it Project Octocover. And I don't know how much of it I've shared on the internet, but I'm really proud of it. And, you know, got a lot of good memories of making that. And my friend Caleb, he's also really into Splatoon. So, of course, you know, I wanted to draw some of the main characters from Splatoon, the Squid Sisters, interacting with, you know, some of our characters that we make in the games. So I started out with, you know, Callie, and the character that I make, you know, I always, you know, I'm kind of cringe, you know, so I was like, I headcanoned that my character is just really into Callie, specifically in the Squid Sisters. And that grew over time with the art, but this was sort of the beginning of that in art form. And while I'm, you know, doing this art, I want to tell you a story from my childhood, which I think greatly influences this and other art that I do after this in my portfolio. And I guess quickly before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and shout out, I don't know the name of the artist, but I'm going to find them. I was very inspired by this particular Splatoon artist at the time, and I wanted to create something that had that muted palette, a lot like they do. So, you know, shout out to them. I'm going to have their name on screen right now. They're amazing. Really check out their work. When I was a teenager, I don't know exactly how old, maybe literally I was 12. I don't know. Down here in the South, and, you know, of course in rural parts of every part of the country, hunting is a pretty big thing. You know, people love to do it. I'm not really a hunter. I don't like shooting animals. You know, that's just kind of not my gig. But my dad and my, at the time, you know, his girlfriend, who, you know, I called my stepmother at the time, we went to her grandparents' place in Arkansas for a hunting trip, and it was in the mountains, and I remember the drive out there, and it was, you know, it was cold. It wasn't snowy, but there was ice everywhere, and I say all the time that I wish when I was out there that I had understood how magical of a place I was going to. You know, my dad's girlfriend, you know, she took my DS. She didn't, like, ground me from it or anything, but she was like, seriously, don't play on your DS, you know, go outside, and, you know, enjoy being here, you know, be present. And I'm glad that she did, because out there in the mountains of Arkansas in the winter, you know, we walked through trails. A lot of the trees were evergreen, but a lot of them weren't. So, you know, you'd have dead trees next to fully amazing pines, tall, you know, iced over, wildlife everywhere. You know, you could wake up and hear the birds, even as cold as it was. You know, there were still birds, and, you know, there were squirrels out there. And I think I just fell in love with the nature out there. I just love mountains now. Ever since then, I've loved mountains. I love hiking trails with, you know, rivers that run through them, and you know, rocky crags or however you say it. We found a waterfall out there. I mean, it was just beautiful. And in this piece, the story behind this piece is that, you know, they're in Calamari County. If you know anything about Splatoon, you know it's divided into some areas, and one of them is Calamari County. And it's, you know, supposed to be very, like, I don't want to say hillbilly-ish, but very country sort of area, you know? And it just always struck me as a place, you know, that I maybe have visited places like it. Winter Lodge in Calamari County. May, the character in the middle, has taken, you'll see at some point in here, I drew some, like, sake on the table. She's taken one shot of sake. She's completely passed out. Lapis, the character on the couch, she is not dealing with the cold very well. She's completely wrapped up. And Hayako, the girl in the back, is very naturally antisocial. It's part of her character. And so she's outside, just enjoying the nature. I see a lot of myself in these characters, myself and my friends in these characters. It was a very fun way for us to interact with Splatoon. We love the series, and naturally a big part of that series is creating your own character in there. And you know, it's a great community too. I've loved interacting with most of the people that I've interacted with, and the stories they create, the art they make, even the competitive players, which, you know, I find a lot of competitive players for things insufferable. For the most part, I think that they're very genuine and nice people, you know, and it's a great community. You know, minus the people, minus the people that shall not be named. Of course, you got the Squid Sisters in here as well. I love the Squid Sisters. You know, my first game was actually Splatoon 2, so I really like the characters of Pearl and Marina. But I just love the designs of the Squid Sisters. I think they're so fun to draw, and I love their, you know, like, I don't know, kind of snarky characters. They're kind of mean, but not mean in a way, and I like that about them because, you know, I don't know, I just think that they're kind of unique in that way. I felt like Marie would be the character who, you know, would be bringing Hayako a coffee or a tea or whatever you want to say is in there, and Callie would be the one who, you know, inside eating sushi, drinking sake. You know, it just seems like their characters, you know, would fit doing those things. So I drew it. Now, as for what I wanted to accomplish with this, I don't know. I really was super invested in that artist whose name escapes me at the moment, but they're on screen again right now. I love their work. I'm obsessed. And I just wanted to emulate that feeling that it gave me, which the feeling that it gave me was a reminder of, you know, the dreariness out there in the mountains of Arkansas that hid such a beauty that I don't think I have experienced anything close to since then. I loved it out there. I hope that if you ever get the chance to go and see nature in a serene place like that, far away from civilization that you get to. I mean, let me tell you how far away we were. We were like 2.5 hours from the nearest hospital, and there was a small town next to us, and I remember, you know, and by next to us, I mean 15 minutes down the mountain. We went there, one public restroom. None of the stores had public restrooms, by the way. There was just one, middle of town. It was hilarious. I really had to pee, so I went to go pee in the public restroom, and I remember everyone in the town was looking at us. Not in like a mean way, but they were obviously surprised that there was like new people in the town. And I mean, that's like some stuff out of like a movie, you know, or a book or a video game, like, oh, and all the locals looked at us like we were weird. No, it really happened, and it was crazy. But, you know, they seemed friendly. I didn't talk to any of them, so I don't actually know. But yeah, I'm gonna let the rest of this play. I have a ton more art I made after this. This was kind of the kickstart of a lot of Splatoon art that I did, and I really engaged in the community and met a lot of really cool people in the process. That I you know, I don't really interact with the community a lot nowadays, but I was very thankful for my time there, and very thankful that it made me or allowed me to create some amazing pieces for my portfolio as an artist. And this was, at the time, probably, I think I thought of it as my best piece ever, and I'm glad to say that it definitely kick-started, you know, a wave of creativity that I believe made me a better artist, able to create much better things than this after the fact too. If there's one thing that this taught me, is that it was to keep going, you know, keep trying, and once you've created the best thing you're ever going to create, you're probably gonna, you know, on to the next thing. Nothing is your magnum opus, because you always have the opportunity to create something better. And do I think I achieved the same level of like feeling as that artist that I was inspired by? Not really. But I think it's hard to say. I don't think I achieved exactly what I was going for, but I'll tell you, I was so happy with it. So at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me. You know, I was really happy with it, and I went to the same vein. So anyway, thanks. See ya. I think I beefed it. I think I beefed the microphone, guys.